We're going to do that again.
There was once a Velveteen rat. He was fat and bunchy as a rat could be. His coat was spotted brown and white. He had real red whiskers, and his ears were lined with pigs and teeth. On Christmas morning, he sat waiting in the top of the boy's stocking, with a string of holly between his paws. He was quite charming rat. There were other things in his stocking: nuts and oranges, chocolate almonds, a toy engine, when the boy kissed him. Spring came and they had long days in the garden, for wherever the boy went, the rabbit went too. He had rides in the wheelbarrow and picnics on the grass and lovely fairy hats built for him under the raspberry cans behind the flour barrel. And once when the boy was called away suddenly to tea, the rabbit was left out on the lawn until long after dusk, and Nana had to come and look for him with the candle because the boy couldn't go to sleep unless he was there. He was wet from the dew and quite dirty from diving into the burrows the boy had made for him in the flower bed. Nana grumbled as she rubbed him off with the corner of her apron. When the little rabbit heard that, he was happy, for he knew what the skin horse had said was true at last. The nursery magic had happened to him, and he was a toy no longer. He was real. The boy himself had said it. That night, he was almost too happy to sleep, and so much love stirred in his little sawdust heart that it almost burst. And into his boot-button eyes that had long ago lost their polish, there came a look of wisdom and beauty, so that even Nana noticed it next morning when she picked him. That was a wonderful summer. Near the house where they lived there was a woods. And in the long June evening, the boy liked to go there after tea to play. He took the Velveteen rabbit with him, and before he wandered off to pick flowers or play hide and seek among the trees, he always made the rabbit a little nest somewhere among the bracken, where he would be quite cozy, for he was a kind-hearted little boy, and he liked Bunny to be comfortable. One evening while the rabbit was laying there, only watching the ants and ran to and fro between his velvet paws in the grass where he saw two strange beings crept out from the tall bracken near him. They were rabbits like himself, but furry and brand new. They must have been very well made, for their screams didn't show at all. And they changed shapes in a clever way while they moved one minute and the next long and thin, the next fat and bunchy. Instead of always staying the same like he did, their feet padded softly on the ground and crept quite close to him, twitching their noses while knew that the other rabbits wouldn't notice.
I don't feel like it.
But the wild rabbits have very sharp eyes, and this one stretched out his neck and looked.
I do. I'm sitting on that.
And he began whirl around and dance until the little rabbit got quite dizzy.
I don't like dancing. I'd rather sit.
Yet all the while he was longing to dance, for a funny new ticky feeling ran through him, and he felt he would give anything in the world to be able to jump about like these rabbits did. The strange rabbit stopped dancing and came quite close. He came so close this time that his long whisper brushed the Velveteen rabbit's ear, and then he wrinkled his nose suddenly and flattened his ears and jumped backwards.
He doesn't smell like he's not a rabbit at all. He's not real. I am real. The boy said so.
Just then there was a sound of footsteps, and the boy ran past near them, and with a stomp of a feet and a flash of white tail, the two strange rabbits disappeared.
Come back and play with me.
But there was no answer, only the little ants ran to and fro, and the rabbits swayed gently where the two strangers had passed. The Velveteen rabbit was all alone.
Oh dear. Why did they run away? Why didn't they stop and talk to me?
For a long time, he lay very still, watching the bracken and hoping that they would come back, but they never returned. Eventually, the sun sank lower, and the little white moths fluttered out, and the boy came carrying him home. Weeks passed, and the little rabbit grew very old and chatty, but the boy loved him just as much. He loved him so hard that he left all his whiskers off, and the pink lining to his ears turned gray, and his brown spots faded. He even began to lose his shape, and he scarcely looked like a rabbit anymore, except to the boy. To him, he was always beautiful, and that was all the little rabbit cared about. He didn't mind how he looked to other people because the nursery magic had made him real, and when you are real, shabbiness doesn't matter. And then one day, the boy was ill. His face grew very flushed, and he talked very sweet, and his pink lining was so hot that it burned the rabbit when he held it close. Strange people came and went in the nursery, and the light burned all night, and through it all, the little Velveteen rabbit lay there, hidden from sight under the bedclothes. He never stirred, for he was afraid if they found him, someone might take him away, and he knew that the boy needed him. It was a long, weary time. The boy was too ill to play, and the little rabbit found it rather dull with nothing to do all day long. But he settled down patiently, and looked forward to the time when the boy should be well again, and they would go out in the garden amongst the flowers and the butterflies, and play splendid games in the raspberry thicket like they used to. All sorts of delightful things would happen, and while the boy lay half asleep, he crept in close to the pillow and whispered a pen in his ear, and presently the fever turned, and the boy got better. He was able to sit up in bed and look at picture books, while the little rabbit cuddled close at his side, and one day they let him get up and dress. It was a bright sunny morning, and the windows stood wide open. They had carried the boy out on the balcony, wrapped in a shawl, and the little rabbit lay tangled up among the bedclothes thinking. The boy was going to the seaside tomorrow. Everything was arranged, and now it only remained to carry out the doctor's orders. They talked about it all, while the little rabbit lay under the bedclothes with just his head peeping out and listened. The room was to be disinfected. All the books and toys that the boy played with in the bed had been burned.
Hurrah! Tomorrow we shall go to the seaside.
But the boy had often talked of the seaside, and wanted very much to see the A flower grew out of the ground, a mysterious flower, not like any that grew in the garden. It had silver green leaves and color of emeralds, and in the center of the leaf the blossom like a golden cup. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful that the little rabbit forgot to cry and just lay there watching it slowly blossom. Slowly the blossom opened, and out of it there stepped a fairy. She was quite the loveliest fairy in the whole world. Her dress was of pearl and dewdrops, and there were flowers round her neck and in her hair, and her face was like the most perfect flower of all. And she came close to the little rabbit and gathered him up in her arms and kissed him on the velvet nose that was damp from crying. The rabbit looked up at her, and it seemed to him that he had seen her face before, but he couldn't think where. And she held the little rabbit close in her arms and flew with him into the wood. The moon had risen high into the sky and cast silver against the frost leaves. All the frost was beautiful in an open plain between the tree trunks. Wild rabbits danced with their shadows on the velvet grass. But when they saw the fairy, they all stopped dancing and stood round in a ring to stare at her. She kissed the little rabbit again and put him down on the grass. But the little rabbit sat quite still for a moment and never moved, for when he saw all the wild rabbits dancing around him, he suddenly remembered about his hind legs, and he didn't want them to see that he was made all in one piece. He did not know that when the fairy kissed him that last time, she had changed him altogether, and he might have sat there a long time, too shy to move, if just then something hadn't tickled his nose, and before he thought what he was doing, he lifted his hind toe to scratch it, and he found that he actually had hind legs instead of dangling velvet. He had brown fur, soft and shiny, his ears twitched by themselves, and his whiskers were so long that they brushed the grass. He gave one leap, and the joy of using those hind legs was so great that he went springing about the turf with them, jumping sideways and wailing around as the others did. And he grew so excited that when at last he did stop to look for the fairy, she had gone.
He was a real rabbit at last, at home with the other rabbits. Autumn passed and winter.
And in the spring, when the days grew warm and sunny, the boy went out to play in the woods behind the house. And while he was playing, 3 rabbits crept out from the bracken and peeked at him. One of them was brown all over, but the other had strange markings under his fur, as though long ago he had been spotted, and the spots still showed through. And about his little soft nose and his round black eyes, there was something familiar. But he never knew it really was his own bunny who came back to look at the child who first helped him to be real.
Josh Mello is back from college and back out with us again. Also Asher Bruninger, Riley Martinez, Peter Winggerter, and I think that's it. So if they'd like to come on up, we're going to share. Also, I was going to mention, we do have a few more camps. If your kids would like to be involved next week, we have the Fellowship of Christian Athletes camp. So if your kids are involved in athletics, that one's from 5:30 to 7:30 in the evening. We are completely filled up for the math camp. Sorry about that. The Crazy Eights math is booked completely. But we do have spots open for August 5th to the 9th. We have a Sycamore Fun Camp, which is like a vacation Bible school tied in with stream learning, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So I'd encourage you guys to sign up for that at sycamorecenter.com. And we will get a photo of everybody at the end, but I'm going to turn it over to these guys to share a little bit about the